Good evening, everyone. So my name is Dmitrijs. I'm working at one of the sponsors of this event, a company called EPAM Systems, which is a pretty big international company. We have around 60,000 people across the world. Right now, the most developing regions are Asia and Latin America, but in Europe we have a lot of people too. But that is not the reason why I'm here. I was hoping for free beer. Yeah, unfortunately there is only water, so my presentation will be less emotional, but still I hope it will be useful for you. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about me, how good I am, maybe ideal even, so I'm trying to reach ideal form of the orb. Yeah, so I'm doing technical interview since 2005, I guess, so, and I did a lot of mistakes, unfortunately. But then I realized those mistakes and overcame, and now I'm offering you the chance not to repeat my mistakes, but learn from my good ideas. Probably, maybe not. Yes. So let's talk about what is the problem with technical interviews. So, technical interviews are hard, you know. We have only a couple of hours to understand if the person we are interviewing will do the job we want to give them, and will that person do this job good, yes? So, and we as people are really suck with predictions. Yes, only like 40 years since we managed to predict the weather, predict performance of people. It's even harder than the weather. And if we would be good at predictions of people's performance, we wouldn't need a management. Imagine you can just hire the right people, they will do everything, you don't need to manage them, you don't need to motivate them, and etc. Unfortunately, we cannot do that. We need somehow to analyze what person can do and cannot do. So, the problem with traditional technical interviews, at least the one I have seen, yes, maybe your experience is different, totally different from mine, but during technical interviews what I noticed that many questions they are not relevant to the job company is trying to offer to you. So for instance, we will not talking about where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, yes, that type of questions. But the technical ones, they either basic or detached from the real job. Also, when you have to, check all the check boxes, provide one correct and only correct answer, it creates some unrealistic pressure. So, for instance, yes, I guess it was almost 20 years ago, How to Move Mount Fuji book was published, which contained a lot of interview questions from Google, from Microsoft, from Oracle. So it was mostly logical puzzles, something like why the manholes are round questions. And also the most ridiculous one was how many tennis balls can be put into a toolbox. Yes? The question emerges how is this relevant to my job as a front-end developer? I'm not loading tennis balls into browser. The same is for backend developer. Of course, if you're working for the if interview is for the shipping company, yes, maybe it's relevant. But I was asking this question for software development company, and it was not really nice of me, yes, but I'm not doing it anymore. So yes, unrealistic pressure also kind of decrease the quality of the answers of the candidate. So if we could avoid it, it would be great. But how to avoid it? Let's talk about this later. Yes, and when some companies, they have entire checklist of things they need to ask the candidate, and this encourages just memorization. Yes, you have to answer all this stuff and be kind of precise in wording. If you miss or will say something differently, you might not get the point for this answer. And also it leads us to in absence of accuracy in assessment. So when the pressure is high, when we have only 1 hour, we don't have also too much time to provide the feedback on the candidate, and it creates a lot of problems, so we might miss the right candidate just by providing inaccurate assessment. So what I am proposing? I'm proposing to focus on the real problems, yes, in software development, and check the real world skills. So I still big proponent of checking data structures and algorithms, but I'm also think that checking refactoring skills, debugging, design skills, and giving an opportunity to answer open-ended problems, solve the open-ended problems, is much better than checking all the checkboxes in your skills and competencies checklist. So why data structure and algorithms are still important? Most probably because it's a foundational knowledge of how the programs are working. If the people rely only on their frameworks, on their development environment, tools, they might miss kind of suboptimal implementation of something. They might need to spend more time on reinventing the wheel. So this foundation is really important. And also sometimes, not often, but it's still happening when a person is able to kind of suggest the solution, yes, but they don't know how to translate the solution into the code. And that is the problem. So especially I'm doing a lot of interviews for EPAM, like this year I've got around 60 interviews, and sometimes candidates, they know all the definitions, but they cannot translate the picture they have in mind into some tangible solution. So, okay, so pros and cons. I will not talk, you can read, you can you can read the definitions. But as I said, the pros is that it's a foundation. Without knowing the algorithms and data structure and understanding when and where to use those, probably your solutions will be suboptimal. And yes, some people are saying, okay, I'm a front-end developer, I don't need your binary tree sorting, something like this. And probably I agree. Unless you're trying to be full-stack developer in some nearest future, you don't need it. But if you want to kind of extend your possibilities, then why not? So, refactoring. Who knows what refactoring is? Raise your hands, yes. Don't be shy. Don't be shy, yes. Okay, half of our audience knows. Okay. So, refactoring, it's a change of structure of the code without changing its behavior. Yes, so, and I think that person who cannot do the refactoring is not a developer, it's just a code producer. So, write once and never touch it. And when our goal as a company, as a project, as a team is to produce the code which is easy to change, easy to maintain, easy to understand what's happening inside. The refactoring skills are becoming crucial. So also this contributes to long-term code health, yes, because I've seen countless dozens are not countless. So anyway, I've seen many projects where a team definitely have no refactoring skills, and it was just throwaway code because you cannot change it. You just need to rewrite it, and the cost of re-engineering the code is much higher than cost of refactoring code in timely manner. So I'm suggesting that during technical interviews with software engineers, we should be focusing on the quality of the code, not also on their knowledge of algorithms, but how they implement those algorithms, and could another teammate understand this implementation. But it also brings us some challenges. Definitely we should prepare in advance. We should have right tooling in order to exercise refactoring during the interview. We should have code snippets, and maybe the easiest way there is just to ask what is wrong with this code, not to offer to refactor like thousands of code lines, yes, but have small snippets and throwing questions into the candidate, yes. So another important skill we need to check is how the person is actually good at finding bugs and fixing bugs, because unfortunately that is a sad reality of our business. Yes, bugs will be there forever, and we need to fix them. Yes, first find, then fix. And also it requires ability to think, of critical thinking. Yes, so why this application or part of the code does not work, or working wrong, and etc. So also that might bring us some challenges with time constraints, because debugging might be exhausting. Yes, and also tooling, not really. Especially for online interviews, there are no good tooling to check the debugging skills. So I think that would be good to prepare in advance also some scenarios, and maybe even theoretical scenarios where you can ask the candidate how they would solve a particular problem using debugging. Most controversial topic, object-oriented programming. There are no pro and cons, yes. So basically what right now is a popular opinion that we should forget about object-oriented programming because we have frameworks. Yay! We don't need to know paradigms of object-oriented programming. We're just using Spring Boot, I don't know, Fast API, something else. So we can do, and also we have ChatGPT and Stack Overflow, so we don't need this. But actually, the connection I found that the better person understands object-oriented programming, the better person will be in designing things. And by things I mean, in particular, microservices, defining boundaries, context boundaries, and etc. So I still think that we need to exercise this discipline, exercise object-oriented programming. We still need doing test-driven development. Actually, without understanding object-oriented programming, you cannot do TDD. At least that's my opinion. Yes? So, this is my favorite part because when I'm giving some problems to candidates and I can see how they attacking the problem, how they're trying to solve the problem and what kind of solutions they offering, that is the part where I can see if I want to work with them or I'm not. Because it's impressive how creative people are when you're not giving them some, I would say, detached from the real life questions, but when you're asking them to do something creative, you immediately see how they are, how enthusiastic they are. So, yes, we might want to give the candidate some complex problem and to see how good the candidate is with breaking this problem down into smaller problems, how good the person with asking questions, clarifying something which is not clear. When I was working in a bank, we decided to bring on board a couple of interns. Yes, so I took CyberDojo tool, online tool for coding and solving code puzzles. Yes, I made a quite detailed description of what should be done. And we got around 20 or maybe 30 applications, but only 4 people understood what we wanted from them. Because the rest of the students, unfortunately, they asked questions which already were answered in our description of the task. So definitely we invited for the interview the 4 who can read at least and understand what is written. So here we also, yes, creativity. So basically, the engineer we need right now, yes, I think it's not the one who knows all the answers, but who can think logically and solve problems effectively, who can write clear and maintainable code, work well with others, adapt quickly to shifting technical landscape, communicate his thoughts and suggestions clearly and consciously, and yes, fight the problem without, you know, getting frustrated easily. So when you're building your technical interview process, I suggest that we define what is important for candidate to have. And it's not like 7 years of experience in some technology, because years are not really relevant to skills, not equal to skills, yes, and some teams or even some companies, they producing tons of requirements for the candidate, but when you really inspecting what candidate will be doing, you understand that, for instance, the candidate doesn't need to know everything at expert level. So, for instance, I was working for another sponsor of this event previously, and I've got a candidate who was interviewed before me by another architect, and the feedback on his interview was he doesn't know Spring, he doesn't know Hibernate. So I asked candidate, what did he do for his, as his duties? And he told that, yes, we made some high load, high availability system which was processing around 150,000 messages per second. And I was like, yes, I understand why you don't need Hibernate and Spring probably too, but the idea here is that you don't have to overcomplicate requirements for the candidate, because otherwise you might miss the right person. Yes, practical questions should be prepared in advance. I'm really suggesting to take some real system code, yes, problematic code, and ask candidate, not ask, but discuss with the candidate what is wrong with this code and how it could be improved. Because it's also can give an opportunity to the candidate to learn something about your company. So pick your code wisely. Sometimes it might spook the candidate. Yes, prepare the interview plan, manage time actively, evaluate outcome promptly. Actually, yes, it really helps to have a feedback template for candidate, for the interviewer, I'm sorry. And it really helps to fill this feedback in a couple of hours after interview. If we talk about how, yes, very important note, it's my private opinion, yes, it's not official EPAM opinion, though I have verified content of this presentation and article it based on with some practice heads, yes, and they said, okay, yes, it sounds logical, reasonable. This is my private opinion. So when I'm saying that I'm suggesting, it's only me suggesting, not EPAM. But if we talk about EPAM, we have a practice to have a technical interview, 2 interviewers who connects after the interview, who connect with each other after interview and discuss their feedback. Because one person could be really opinionated about something and give a poor feedback, but when discussing, usually we can find the middle ground about this candidate. So, and if our opinions are not matching, it also could be reflected in the feedback. So maybe some additional interviews, or the recruiter may watch the video of the interview and made some conclusions. There is one really painful, at least for me, topic about technical recruiting, homeworks. So, I think that homeworks for candidates should be illegal. Yes, it's really bad practice, because usually what I see is that do you really need some another REST service which does nothing useful in particular, just create something, update something and delete something. Also, it takes time to do that, and you either do it during your working time, so you're stealing from your employer, and the company who's giving you this homework is stealing from your employer too. Or you're doing it after work, so you're stealing time from your family, and the company which gives you this interview is stealing from your family too. I think also homework is lacking of relevance, yes, and the setup in which candidate works in is really different from the setup where he is doing or she homework. So when you're working in a team, you can ask everything immediately. If you're sitting in the office, you can ask. If you're sitting in your home office working remotely, you also can type your question in the chat and get answer like in an hour or two, yes, and you get paid for this hour of waiting. Here, when you're doing homework after your normal working hours, you're sending question to the recruiter who sent you this homework task. Recruiter next day passes it to developer. Developer answers, maybe highly improbable, in a couple of hours, yes. Then you got home back. Next evening you got the answer. You start doing something, you've got another two answers. So it's a vicious cycle. What I'm proposing here to prepare more consciously to the technical interview, and you can make it not 1 hour but 2 hours, but really collaborate with the candidate instead of giving him irrelevant homework which will be checked also by some busy person within your company who got other tasks to do. So I'm afraid that it will be checked the wrong way. So, I think that is all from my side, and I'm really sorry I'm not kind of energetic as I used to be at the previous meetup.
Because of the beer.
Yes, no beer and a lot of work this week. But right now, maybe we have 5 minutes for questions. Yep. Yes, we have. So, any questions? Yes, please.
In your presentation, you have noted that that person should have good communication with other developers. And how do you check this?
Usually, when person can communicate good with developers, it also can communicate well with interviewer. So I'm referring right now to EPAM practice, so I'm doing right now solution architect interviews. So we are giving to the candidate practical architectural kata, and the pattern, clear pattern. We see that if the person can ask the questions, even stupid ones. Most of the candidates, they are rushing into solving the problem without asking questions, and those are not good candidates for us, not the right ones. But clearly when the person is able to think before, then ask questions and think again, I think it's a good approach to check how a person can communicate. Not the approach, but good signs that person can communicate well.
Can I ask a question? When you give some task, did you give all information, or you can hide some information and expect that your candidate ask questions?
Definitely we expect some clarifying questions from the candidate. Sometimes even we can do a small provocation, asking some unrealistic things like 100% availability. Yes, and interesting how people respond to that in a conscious manner, saying, no, sorry, this is not possible. Or they're just accepting it blindly and saying, okay, let's do 100% availability. So, anyone? Yay.
You've mentioned the right thing about no homework, which means you respect the time of the candidates. I would like to know, at least estimates, how long does it actually take in hours for a candidate to pass all the interviews you're actually running or involved? Do you think it's enough, or it's too many hours spent, it could be reduced?
You know, for me, half a day interview, I mean, me interviewing the candidate, that would be enough, yes. But unfortunately, neither I or candidate has that much time in a single time span. So I guess what we do 1 hour HR interview. Then if the person is eligible to continue, we are doing half an hour pre-screening interview, and then full-scale technical interview for 1.5 hours, where 30 minutes it's usual Q&A, and 1 hour it's architectural cut, some practical tasks. So after that might be project interview, might be not. But the good thing is that we are trying to provide feedback almost immediately, the maximum next day in the morning, so the candidate doesn't have to wait. Yes?
So how can you distinguish a candidate he's like forgetting things because he's stressed out, or he doesn't know the thing? How can you distinguish this? Because sometimes you can miss good candidates only because he's stressed, he forgets something, and you miss a good candidate.
Yes, you know, when people are stressed, it's sometimes it's kind of, you can see it. So I'm asking, are you stressed? And yes, first of all. And the second thing, when I see that person doesn't know something, I'm not trying to dig deeper, yes, and explore what he or she doesn't know. I'm trying to explore what they know, yes, and build the picture of what they know. Sometimes when I'm asking something and I clearly see that person might know the answer, so I'm giving the answer in order to continue explore this topic. Yes, and if I see that in general the candidate understands what are we talking about, then it's a good sign that yes, maybe person was overstressed, just didn't touch this area for a long time, and something like that. Yes.
What was your shortest interview when you hired someone?
Sorry, come again?
What was your shortest interview when you hired someone?
Usually short interviews for the ones we are not hiring. I'm trying to kind of use the whole time with the right candidates, because it's a real pleasure to speak with intelligent, skillful and experienced people. So I'm kind of using my position of the interviewer to entertain myself and also create the good public image of our company.
Have you ever been under pressure when you have to process like 20 people per day?
No,
Let's take
no,
it Saturday.
no. I do not do more than 2 interviews per day. And right now we've got a brilliant interviewing platform where you can specify how much interviews you can handle per week and per day. So I can regulate it, no pressure. Yes.
I know that like practical tasks usually are a stressful experience, more for candidates than for the interview, of course. What do you do to make it more pleasant, more bearable for the candidates? So also to see him less stressed.
I warn in advance that there will be practical tasks.
So the candidate can spend not this hour being stressed, but also the previous 8 hours.
Yes, why not? Yes, please.
You mentioned the katas. So are the candidates typically informed about what's in there, or that's more coming as a surprise?
They are informed that there will be a practical task,
Yeah,
yes,
but
but
the
the content, yes, let's say it's a surprise for them. But most of them doesn't look surprised, yes, so they expect something like that. And it's not like we are giving the vague description and we expect to get in 1 hour detailed low-level architectural diagram with all the hardware components and etc. We like to discuss things, see how the person is thinking, how the person is handling requirements, how the person finding out what really needs to be done, how the system should work, how this code should work, and etc.
Also about references and pet projects. Do you get that?
Definitely the candidate can provide them. I will check.
What are your thoughts on ChatGPT and similar tools during interview? Do you try to limit them, or do you see it
Oh,
a plus if can you use
you know, there is such thing. If person is good with giving the detailed description of some technologies or architectural patterns and etc. But if he is or she is reading from the screen, yes, it will be revealed during the practical part. So yes, if someone wanna try their luck, repeating questions to ChatGPT or having someone typing questions for them and showing them. First of all, you can see when person doing some strange gestures with his head and trying to read something. Second, when the practical task is given, ChatGPT will not help you yet. But you never know. Yes, please.
Yeah, so this all helps us to find smart guys, yes, but I found what some colleagues with greatest output, not smartest ones, but I mean with best working ethics and like most hard working. So how to find if this person is not only smart but is hard working as well, if it's possible
You
at
got
all.
probation period for that.
So you don't have such a purpose like
No,
only
I don't have answers for
okay.
all questions.
Maybe
Sorry.
Well, I think. So how do you evaluate your practical test? Is either by how the task is done, or if the task is done at all?
It depends we've got several criteria for that. First of all, how person is working with the requirements, how good the solution is, how does it meet all the requirements. I mean, can the solution details be traced back to requirements? So, for instance, when someone is introducing caching, yes, which requirements it satisfies, for instance. Yes, and overall quality of the code, of the diagram the candidate produces.
So, let's, as an example, if you have a practical task to create a REST API, no matter what you're using, Golang, Spring, Hive, and so on, if the candidate will decide to do the task, let's say in Golang, you can do that, let's say, I think you can correctly in 10 minutes. But at the same time, you're seeking for, let's say, Java developers or Spring developers.
I think when we asking to create RESTful API, we're asking for the wrong thing. Because for the RESTful API, the important is API, not the implementation of the API. So API could be designed in a notepad in 5 minutes, yes. But the coding should be checked differently, not giving such long going tasks. So, Edgar?
I think, yeah, we should finish now. So if you still have questions, you come to Dmitrijs and ask here. So here is promised chocolate.